At least first time coming to Ghana, you need to experience the Elmina Castle.
You are welcome. It became difficult for these ladies to go back to their homes because they were not from this time. So the soldiers built stone houses in town for these pregnant ladies. After delivering, when the child was 6 years old, the child was brought back to the castle for education. These children grew up to become some of the first elites of this country. These children also intermarried with the locals, and this has an effect on the coastal line of Ghana. When you come to the coastal line of Ghana, you hear some of the foreigners names like Johnson, Bartels, Williams, Anderson, and others. This is as a result of these children. They were old. So here was where the soldiers escorted the females to the governor's bedroom. Now we can use this side, but when we get to the governor's apartment, I will show you how it is from the top. So now, let's see how they treated females who resisted rape from the government. Okay, so this is a cannonball, and this cannonball weighs 25 kilos, equivalent to 50 pounds. This was what they were using to punish females who resisted rape from the governor. So there was a chain here. 8 of these balls were shackled on the ankle of the lady. The lady stood right here 24 hours. No food, no water, just because the lady resisted rape from the governor. Meanwhile, these ladies were not fed well in the dungeons. So they standing there for 24 hours. They went through their rape. This also served as warning to the ladies in the dungeons. Because they didn't want to go through this punishment, when they are being selected by the governor, they had no choice than to give up. So this was what they were using to punish females who resisted rape. Please now let's come this. Okay, so this is another female dungeon, and this dungeon contains about 130 females. The materials you see on the ground are not original. In 2015, we had a program called the Return of the Slaves. Females across Africa were selected to be here to spend 24 hours, and these materials were used to cover themselves. After 24 hours, some got malaria, yellow fever, rashes, and others, and they were rushed to the hospital. Just 24 hours here. So what about the females who spent 3 to 4 months in this dungeon? They went through a lot here. The saddest aspect of this dungeon, at the top of this dungeon was the Dutch church. The Dutch worshiped their God here and punished their fellow human beings right here. This was the original floor where the ladies slept. You could see the red bricks here, and on this wall you could see the yellow bricks. The red bricks was brought by the Portuguese and the yellow was brought by the Dutch. And the white substance here is called the limestone, which is used to bind the bricks. Now these woods have been changed with the exception of this one. We also have another one here. These are the original woods at that time, about 542 years. And these bars too are not the original bars. These are wooden bars. This is the original bar they used at the time. But because it is rusting, that's why we've changed it to wooden bars. So this is that in the female slave dungeon. Now let's move to the room of no return and see how the enslaved Africans went to their ships. Okay, so this side is called the female passage. If the ship arrived, the females who survived in the dungeons were forced to pass this side. The males passed the other side. But now we can't use this side to the room of no return, because at that time there was a staircase there where the ladies descended. But now it's been changed into a drainage. So now we will use where the males passed to the room of no return. Yeah, because when you reach there, you don't come back to the dungeons. You are being thrown to the ships.
Is there like a physical barrier?
Yeah.
Is there a physical barrier that prevents you?
No. The soldiers. And even the way you will see where they pass. Okay, so this is one of the male slave dungeon. This dungeon is also called a transit room. When the ship arrived, the males who survived in the dungeons passed this side to the room of no return. This dungeon took about 150 males, and these were their source of ventilation and lighting. I personally call this dungeon the survival of the fittest, because how they fed 150 men here was very bad. Food was brought from this side. They drove food from this side. So if one is at a corner, he couldn't get access to this food. Only the strongest survived here. Yes. And the room at the back there is called the branding room. Because they wanted to make identification of the slaves, they placed hot metals on their chest, some at their backs, and even on their foreheads. Hot metal, just to create identification. Only the males were branded, but for the females, they placed stars on their neck as a form of identification. Some of the males lost their lives through the shock from the using the branding. So this is the transit room. Now let's move to the intersection room, and from there we move to the room of no return. So please watch your head and you take a step down. Okay, so this is the intersection room. Females came from this side, the males from the other side. At that time, there was a staircase there where the ladies descended. But now it's been changed into a drainage. So when it rains, it passes here, then it moves out of the castle. The females went first, followed by the males, because they believe that if they meet, some of the males may impregnate the females. And the motive for taking them is not to reproduce, but to make profits. For this reason, females went first, followed by the males. Now we are moving to the room of no return, and we are lucky that we shall return. So please, Please, when you get here, you go down, count 4 steps before you raise your head.
I know, right? My back.
Jesus Christ.
My back hurts and I've only been here for 10 minutes.
Can you imagine this? Oh. So the water used to be closer. See that the water used to be closer.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like.
So when you pass here,
Okay, so this is the room of no return. This was the last room the enslaved Africans passed before they went to their ships. Here was where they passed. There was a staircase there where they descended. At that time, the sea was touching the walls of this castle. So the ship stopped about 1 kilometer away. They used smaller boats to convey the slaves to the ships. In the ships, they were packed like animals. One ship took about 400 enslaved Africans, and when they reached, about 235 died. So in the ship is another journey on itself. In the ship, those who felt sick were thrown into the sea. When they reached the point, they saw that the ship couldn't move that fast. They have to offload some of the Africans in the sea. Females who they detected pregnant in the castle, they freed them. But females who they detected pregnant in the ships were thrown into the sea because they believed that they couldn't work. Those who survived, they took them to countries like Haiti, Suriname, Jamaica, Liverpool, Manchester, Brazil, and others. Here was where they passed. And before they started slave trade, this side was very wide. Because when they brought their goods from Portugal, here was where they offload their goods into the castle. But when they started slave trade, they narrowed it to the small. Just because they wanted to count and control the slaves.
So what you're saying, before the actual slave trade, they was actually used for other purposes before?
Yeah. It was used for trading.
Okay.
Yes.
And at some point, someone come up with an idea.
Yeah. And so sad that it was a Catholic priest who suggested Africa. Yeah. So that was the beginning of the slave trade.
Catholic priest.
Yes. Called Bartolomeo de las Casas.
Oh.
Very sad.
Bartolomeo de las Casas. What the name ring a bell?
that is why Christianity is ruining Africa.
Right.
It's ruining the whole African countries and so forth.
And the reefs at the back were brought by some of the tourists who believe some of their ancestors lost their lives here.
Wow.
And I think next time when we are coming, we also need to bring some because we are our ancestors died here.
Yeah, we are all black descendants. Yeah.
So this is that in the room of no return. You can come close and have a look. So from here, we move to the main courtyard.
You see that?
Yeah.
You see that view outside?
Mm-hmm. It's nice.
With the ships and that view. Look at that.
Now these are boats.
Yeah,
they are boats. Oh, okay. They are boats for catching fishes and so forth. Yeah.
Fish. Wow. This is good, Lord.
When they started the emancipation festival, that's when they opened the house. I remember when I came as a kid, it was very small.
It was smaller than this.
It was small.
That's why they
So that's why they keep you hungry.
So you lost
They
weight.
keep them hungry so they lose weight.
Oh.
Secondly, so they can pack them further into the ships. If you are big, you can't go. So they will go back again, wait for another 3 months.
Really?
And shrink some more, yes.
Whoa.
They may feed you just once a week or something, so that you can shrink further. Then they come here, descend, the smaller ships take them there, and then they go. Well, let's follow the history. It seems to. There's no in away from us.
Slave dungeons, where about 600 meals were shared among these dungeons. Above the dungeons, the first floor was where the merchant, missionaries, physicians, and soldiers at the first floor. The second floor was where the deputy governor resided. And the last floor was the residence for the governor himself. Now, this building is the first Catholic church in Ghana, built by the Portuguese. But in 1637, when the Dutch took over, they were not Catholics, so they didn't use this building as their church. They built their church on top of the female slave dungeons. So they divided this building, used the top as their junior soldiers' mess, where the junior soldiers had their dining, their ground floor as their auctioning hall, where they buy and sell slaves. When the British took over, they used this same building as police training school. And when Ghanaians we took over, now this building is a museum. You can see this slope, there is another one there. They are called buttresses. They were built by the Dutch to support the walls of this castle. The British added the metal bands you see on it as a form of police training. So they climb up and down as a form of exercise. Now these two rooms are cells. The one on my right is the European cell, and the one on the symbol on top, a skull and a crossbone, is the African cell. So now we are moving into these two cells and compare. Let's first start from the European cell. So please let's move to the European cell. Okay. Please do not lock it.
Yes, you can lock it.
Speak for yourself now.
Lock it for like 38 hours.
Okay, so this is the European cell. This was for the European soldiers who misbehaved in the castle. Some went out without permission. Others also got drunk and even went to the extent of raping the females at their dungeons. So these soldiers were kept here for a while. Here they were given food, they were given water. And the holes you see were their source of ventilation. Now this door is the original door, and even the structure of this door is even well ventilated. So here for European soldiers. Now let's move to the African cell and compare these two cells. Oh, no.
Okay.
Okay. So, as part of our tour, whenever we get here, we close the door for some seconds.
No, you can even put a padlock at the back.
No lights. No propagation.
Okay, so this is the African cell or the condemned cell. This was for the enslaved men who wanted their freedom. The freedom fighters. They were kept here for them to die. Here, no food, no water, and the poor source of ventilation here killed these freedom fighters. No African came here and went back alive. They all died here. These holes were not created for ventilation. They are spy holes. Here was where the soldiers look through to check if someone is dead. If someone dies here, the soldiers would tie stones around the waist of the dead body and throw the dead body into the sea. But for European soldiers who died in the castle, they give them a befitting burial in town. As at now, we still have the Dutch cemetery in town. So now you could compare these two cells and see.
I'm even sweating. Are you afraid to die?
Yes.
Oh, don't worry.
I'm not ready to meet God today.
God is coming to you. If you're not ready, God is coming to you.
But you want to go to
You can come to me. Yeah.
you don't want to die. Okay, so now we've seen the dungeons, we've seen the room of no return, the cells. Now let's move to the governor's apartment and see where the governor also resides. Let's take this. Okay, so before we move to the governor's apartment, let's check out this couch. Okay, so here was where they held their meetings, the soldiers. They held their meetings right here. But now it's a craft shop. I have some books here that I recommend for you. We have a history of indigenous slavery in Ghana. Let's talk about the system of slavery practiced by Africans before the coming of the Europeans. We also have a cry and a lamentation from our ancestors. This contains chronicles from African untold stories. Story about the transatlantic slave trade from the captives. This information is very nice and it's very good to read if you want to know more about the transatlantic slave trade. We also have African visionaries. This contains some of the information of some of the African leaders and their achievements. We also have African Gold Coast through Portuguese source. This is also information about the transatlantic slave trade. We also have a visit to the Elmina Castle. This is a photo of the whole castle. So please, if you want to get some, this gentleman there is there to help you. Yo, man, how much is the visit? 6 Wow. Okay, so this was the governor's bedroom. And this is not all. This side too is the governor's living room. So let's check out. So this side and the other side for the governor. Yes, only one person occupying here, and thousands of Africans were suffering in the dungeons. This is very sad. So bedroom there, living room here, and this side was the governor's dressing room where he dressed. So let's pass this side to see the governor's kitchen.
So it's a walk-in closet. There's a walk-in closet. This is his walk-in closet.
Seeing the rest of the closet, I can leave it.
Yes, I did proper.
Also, this is where the
So if you were choosing, this is your.
So here was where the soldiers escorted the females to the governor's bedroom.
Okay.
This goes down to the dungeons. So this is how it goes from
so
the
the
top.
special female goes
Yes.
here.
This was specially designed for that.
So when they come here, they fire them. Yeah, that's good. That's good.
They don't.
They only dance.
Now let's move aside. So here was where the governor stood to select the lady.
So I think one lady is supposed to be there, then we can demonstrate and see how it is being done. Any volunteer? Maybe one lady should go down there, then we'll demonstrate how the governor calls the ladies.
Okay, so this side was the governor's kitchen. And this kitchen was for the Dutch governor. They had different kitchens, though they came at different times. So let's check how the Dutch governor's kitchen.
At least you can be
So, who occupied the palace first?
Go by this guy.
Yeah, first.
Yeah. So the Portuguese, they built it.
Okay. Okay.
The Dutch governor police.
The kitchen, eh?
The kitchen. So this was the Dutch governor's kitchen. And this side was for the Portuguese governor. I think the Dutch governor was so greedy because this kitchen was very big, bigger than the Portuguese governor's kitchen. So now let's come inside. Okay, so this was the Dutch church. And this church is right on top of the female slave dungeon. This writing is in Old Dutch. It's a Bible quotation. Which says Zion is low-breasted place. So they believed the Lord was here and they were punishing the African human beings at the ground. Now the pictures of the wall and some art which they designed just to make us relieve from the pain that we go through as Africans. So there is an exhibition going on there. Please, yes, you can leave your comments about your experience here. You can write it. So we will take this side to see a fort and some candles. Let's take it. Okay, so this is a cannon, and this was the original cannon they used for protection. They placed the cannonball in, put some gunpowder in it, and light a fire at the bottom. This could go to about 3 kilometers. This is the square diagram at the entrance. It's called a navigation compass or a sundial. This was what they were using to check the time. They placed a stake in between of this where the shadow of the lake lies as the time. And we have some boats here. Whenever they saw that the enemy was coming, there was a hole at that side. They will open for the sea to fill this boat, and they will raise the bridge so that the enemy will not get access into the castle. This is the white building on top there. It's a fort called Fort St. Jago, built by the Dutch in 1665. This hill was the hill the Dutch stood to attack the Portuguese in the castle. So when the Dutch took over this castle, they saw that this same hill could be a threat to them. So they built the fort there for soldiers to be monitoring around the castle. So here, you could take some pictures here for about 2 minutes, then we move to the last place, then we end the tour.
So this was the bomb my great grandfathers were using. Yeah. When you hear boom, everything will be boom. Another am I lying? Yes. All you hear is what? Boom.
So the Elmina corrupted to what is now known as Elmina. But the original name of this town before the coming of the Portuguese was Anum Ansan. Anum Ansan is a local name which means water that doesn't get finished. It's really the time in the 16th century the attention of the Portuguese shifted from the trade of goods to slave trade. This happened because they needed labor to work in their plantation in Caribbean, European, and American countries. In America, they were using the Native Americans. They were called the Red Indians. These Red Indians were dying because of the harsh conditions in the plantation. Some were also losing their lives because they got European diseases. Because of this reason, a Catholic priest called Bartolomeo de las Casas suggested Africa, because he believed that Africans were strong as compared to the Red Indians. This suggestion the priest made led to the slave trade. The Portuguese spent 155 years in this castle. In 1637, the Dutch attacked them and they took over. They spent 235 years. In all, about 400 years was used for slave trade in this castle. In 1872, the Dutch sold the castle to the British. The British used this castle as their office for their administrative taxes. In 1948, the same British used this castle as police training school. They spent 85 years in this castle, and in 1957, when Ghana we had our independence, we took over this castle from the British. We have been in charge for 67 years. In all, this castle is 543 years. This is the biggest and oldest castle in sub-Saharan Africa as transatlantic slave trade is concerned. We also end our talk by saying we didn't have this talk to create any confusion or to pass on judgment. It is actually good to preach this history because Malcolm X once said a person without the knowledge of his or her history is like a tree without a root. So I appreciate you for being here this afternoon. It's an honor and appreciate our ancestors who died and those who survived here. We wish to see you again. Thank you for coming. And my name is Kofi Awaji. Thank you.
Ashe.
So please, any question?
My main question is
Those children came to learn. So this is how it looks. Here was where formal education in Ghana started.
So who attended the school?
It was the mulattoes. When the governor raped or a soldier raped any female, the enslaved Africans, the females, when they got pregnant, they were freed. But these ladies, it became difficult for these ladies to go back to their homes. So the soldiers built stone houses in town for these pregnant ladies. After delivering, when the child was 6 years old, the child was brought back to this classroom.
So if they bring them back to here, they don't go back to their houses or they stay there?
No, they go back to the soldiers.
Okay. They only come to school, they
And the mother of these children, they became domestic slaves. They were the one washing for the governor, cleaning their rooms and others. Please, any
Do you
question?
have any idea of how much kids was
That one, I think I've not done a research on